Hey guys, Clone Guy here, and today we're going to be asking the age-old question: is the E50M dead? Now, the E50M is the most accurate medium tank gun in this game. It used to be the most accurate gun in the game, period, along with its Tier 9 counterpart, the E50. But now there's tanks like the Gorilla 15, the Waffly 100, the Panther 2 now has a .3 accurate gun, the Leopard 1 has a .3 accurate gun. So it's no longer the most accurate, but it's joint with the Leopard 1 with most accuracy on a medium tank. And that's really good sometimes. Sometimes that's really good. But the issue I find with this is the fact that it's German. For some reason, even though this gun is so accurate, I have it missing shots all the time. Which is interesting, because the Leopard, which is just as accurate, I have no issues with. But this tank, I do. And I don't know why. So is this tank dead? Well, if you guys saw me playing it in ranked battles, you would think, oh, you were doing pretty well in ranked battles. I was doing pretty well in ranked battles with the E50M for two reasons. One, because... But there are two reasons and yet one reason. The first reason is because there are less tanks. I don't need as much DPM to kill them all. This tank lacks in DPM. It does not have much DPM at all. And so when you're in a 15 versus 15, you just can't do enough damage fast enough to win the game. And you kind of have to rely on your teammates a lot more in this tank than you would other medium tanks. Number two is your armor works really well when it's facing the enemy. But when there are more enemies, then your armor won't work as well because they're hitting you from more angles. You have to angle for more people. Your turret's not very good. Your rotation speed's not the greatest. It's enough to keep up with a medium tank. So in a 7 versus 7, it's a lot easier to use. But once you find yourself in this kind of situation where it's 15 versus 15, the armor and the gun just don't seem to work very well. And for some reason, Wargaming decided to nerf it. Why did they nerf this tank? They nerfed the tank because it has the best survival rate on a tier 10 medium tank. Not because it's winning a lot. Not because it's doing too much damage. It's too hard to 3-mark. No. They nerfed it because it has the highest survival rate at tier 10. Let's take a quick look at its stats. This is 9.22, which is about where we are in World of Tanks console. I know this isn't exact because we also have Italians and we have the Polish tanks, which I don't think we're 9.22, but that's beside the point. This is about where we are in regards to where all the tank stats are. And we're going to be going through this real fast, and you'll notice it's got the lowest DPM, lower than the Leopard 1, which is its direct counterpart, lower than the 430U, which is its, at least on PC, lower DPM, which is its kind of its equal, what it's supposed to play like. And then the other two tanks with 105s, well, there's more with 105s, but these are the more generic ones, also have better DPM. You have the most penetration at 270, which is nice, but your premium is the same, and it's only 2 millimeters more, so it's not a big deal. Your rate of fire obviously is lower, your reload is lower. You have the fastest shell velocity, kind of, once again, just barely by 22. And your ammo capacity is low. Okay. And then look at this, 0.3 accuracy, which is the same as the Leopard 1, but you're going to notice, look at the aim time. It's 2.1, which is just too long for this gun, in my opinion, because you don't even have the greatest on-the-move accuracy. Granted, it's better than the Leopard, but look, it's the same as the Action X. It's lower than the Patton. It's even lower than the 430U. Of course, you have to add 0.1 to these numbers because of the accuracy, base accuracy differences. But yeah, you're seeing it's really falling behind. There's a lot of greens on the other sides, and some reds here and there. Like the gun depression is 8, which is pretty good, but it's still not as good as the other 105s. Your top speed is really good, and so is your power to weight, realistically. But then look at the terrain resistances. You get crushed by terrain resistances, which is really unfortunate. You have the worst tank traverse. You have the worst turret traverse. You have the worst terrain resistances. It's rather quite sad. And then you get to the armor, and it looks good on paper, 150 millimeters of upper plate armor, but the sides aren't very good, and neither is the turret. You have the worst turret other than the Leopard 1, but the Leopard 1 is small. It's harder to hit, which is nice. But you don't have these magical rounded turrets. Not only are these thicker, they're rounded. This is 185 and flat. it has the same turret as the E50 at tier 9, which I can pen easily with my Tiger 1 through the turret. So there's that. You have the most health, which is nice. And so that's going for you. And your view range is average. It's about as average as you can get. And so now you're looking at this and you're thinking, okay, yeah, it is in a lot of ways worse than all these other tanks. But something I did not mention is the fact that they nerfed this on console. So if we go to console, notice the stats, 2,437 damage per minute is actually, on console, after the nerf, 2,388. The DPM drops even more, and these DPMs did not change. This patent has nearly 500 more DPM. Well, 400. More than 400. 420 more DPM. That's disgusting. This also got changed, so you actually do have better DPM than the 430U, which is pretty nice. So everything else is the same. It's just the DPMs that changed on these tanks, and I just wanted to show that. But let's go into the armor real quick. If you're facing this thing front on, the armor is really good, 310. But the issue with this armor is that's actually not that good against premium rounds. Tier 10 premium rounds usually have about 330 or more millimeters of penetration, so you just become a bigger target. You're just huge, and when people are shooting premium rounds, you'd rather be in like a Leopard 1, because Leopard 1s don't matter, and they're fast enough to avoid. And you can see this turret. Look at these cheeks are really good. Out here, this is an auto ricochet. This is an auto ricochet if they're not shooting heat. As soon as they load heat, the shell goes straight through, and you can hit anywhere. As long as you don't hit the mantlet, you can penetrate this tank anywhere and everywhere. So what is this tank good at? Well, it's pretty good at getting into positions quickly and surviving getting there. So this is Thieful Ridge, and I'm going to show you the beginning of this game because this is a perfect example of what this tank is good at. It's the best tank at what it's about to do here, and that is charging into a forward position. Yes, a Leopard 1 would beat it there. Yes, a Bat Chat would beat it there, but those tanks don't have armor to go with, and it's probably not a great idea. This is definitely the best tank to do this with. The 430U can do this as well, but it'll do it a lot slower because of the 14 horsepower per ton and the fact that it only goes 50. Remember, this thing almost has 20 horsepower per ton. It's about 19, and it goes 60, and because of that, we're able to make this play go straight for their hill, which is a huge play on this map, and usually, if you're able to do this and hold it, you win the game. But in this game, it's slightly different, and that is because the enemy all pushed, unfortunately, to the other side. But yes, this is what this tank is good at. Another unfortunate thing about this tank is, though, if they decide to push you out of this position, you can't really do much because you don't have the DPM to deal with it. What else is this tank good at? Ramming, and it is good at that. So I'm going to go for the double kill here, go for the WZ. We bounce off this guy instead, unfortunately, but we do ram a tier 10 heavy tank to death, dealing more damage to him than he did to us. In fact, he ran out of hit points. Had he had more hit points, we might have done even more damage to him, which is pretty phenomenal. But yeah, that's what this tank is good at, and I've decided I want to really, really win this game. And so we're going to be putting our full everything into this game to try to win this. I'm going one rock at a time, just making sure we don't get caught out or anything like that. And hopefully we can pull off victory this game. Hopefully, that's the plan. Chrysler K, hey bud, we can go through that, no problem. We do, and we set him on fire, and he burns to death. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. And then we know there's a 4005 around here, so we're being really, really cautious about him. He could be around any one of these corners. I'm not too afraid of the T10. I'm not too afraid of the IS-7. I know I can take them. There's one already. He is spotted. But where's the 4005? There's the 4005. All right, we're going to change our attention to him, and we're going to load an HE shell to shoot him in the turret, which is super weak. What is it, 8, 9, 12? Something like that, 10? It's really bad armor regardless, so it doesn't really matter. And first we're going to see if we have a shot on the Artie. We do not, but this guy fired, so we're going for him. Who cares about Artie? I don't. Let's get this guy. Boom, we put a shell in. We don't roll that high, but we're going to ram him. No, we're not. The artillery finishes him off, and he goes down. IS-7 on our right, so we're going to load our APCR back up, and we're going to try to fight this guy, but we've got artillery on our left. I'm hoping my medium tank will take care of him, but this guy's angled in, so we go for his, nope, lower plate. No, it goes into his upper plate there and bounces off at point-blank range. I'm not sure how that happened, but that's what happened. We have artillery aiming, so we're going to aim at him, and it's going to throw him off. Boom, we put the shell in. He decides, instead of trying to shoot me, he's going to pull back to not get shot, but it doesn't work for him. Now we're going to pull in and get around this. And this is 270 millimeters of penetration, but sometimes it feels like it's lying. We put a shell in, and that actually does not damage him, even though he was side on. We hit him in the tracks, so that was a little bit unfortunate there. And artillery is now shooting at us. Now we're going to come up over this ridge, put a shell in his... Where are we going to put it in? We try to put it down in his upper plate. It doesn't work, so we're going to load the heat now. And he goes straight through. I don't know if he went... Yeah, he went through my engine deck. The top of my engine. So now we've got heat load, and that goes through no problem. And this guy's no longer focusing on me. I don't know why. This guy wasn't the brightest bush in the bulb, but, you know, whatever. And then we just got full penned by a tier 8 artillery who has 700 alpha. He splashes for about 100 to 200, and he actually full penned us there for 400 nearly. As stated before, though, the IS-7 wasn't the brightest player. And this guy's going to go for artillery first, which is the right choice. Finishes off the artillery. Now the IS-7. This is funny. I cracked up watching this. He comes around the corner, and then he notices artillery. He turns his attention to artillery, back to this guy, back to artillery, and he dies. Did you see the turret going back and forth, back and forth? He's like, oh no, what do I do? Oh boy, that was kind of funny. And he gets finished off by the T-92. So we do actually win that game. It really had nothing to do with my tank. If I was in, let's say, Leopard 1, I would have been able to scoot around a lot faster, avoid the IS-7, and really get around him and kill him. I would have easily circled him to death. If I was in a Patton, I would have been able to DPM him down so fast. And if I was in a 430U, he never would have penned me. My E50M armor did not work that game, unfortunately. Well, now you're like, well, you still won the game, right? So clearly the tank is still decent. And I say, no, we did not win that game because of the tank I'm in. I already mentioned that. And this is a perfect example, once again, of why this tank is not that good. First of all, we fire that into the ridge. But it just does not have the DPM to win the game. It requires too much team to play. If I want to rely on my team, I'll play tanks like tank destroyers or artillery, you know? Or mediocre heavy tanks, where it's like, okay, as long as my team does this, then I can do this. But this is a medium tank. It's your job to be that guy who supports your heavies and allows your heavies. You're the one people need to rely on. But that's really not the case. In the .3 accuracy, it doesn't even hit the Super Conqueror there. We didn't bounce off. We just missed him completely. It didn't even hit him. And then there's the turret getting penned by a Kronvang who has terrible gun handling. And he's able to hit the turret. And we just don't have the DPM. We don't have the armor. We don't have the gun depression. 8 degrees isn't bad, but every other medium tank with a 105 does better. And so what are we supposed to do? That one goes in magically because magic. But we're just pulling back. We have to pull back. If we were in a Patton, we could have probably sat there a little bit longer, and we would have gotten more shots off, and we would probably still be at full health because of our turret. We missed that shell. That was a bad shot by me, but you're going to see yet again, the gun just, it doesn't. Lower plate, it goes into his turret. Yes, that was more snapped, but I still feel it could have gone into his lower plate, perhaps. But once again, this position just isn't going to work. We have to pull back again. And yes, their team pushed rather rapidly, but think about it. If I was in an E5, which almost, in my opinion, has the same role as this tank, if I was in an E5, I could have held. If I was, once again, in a Patton, I could have held. If I was in an Action X, I could have used my gun depression and my turret armor, and I could have held a little bit longer, and we might have won this. But yet again, this tank just does not have the DPM, and the accuracy trolls me over and over and over again. Here's a... Hello there. Gonna put a shell into you. Boom. Yes, we do. And now we're gonna watch this shot. Just watch this. There is the 140. He's broadside on, not moving. It just disappears. I don't know where that went. And that's not the last time that's gonna happen. Nor was it the first. The Conqueror is the same thing. The shell just disappeared. And I know numbers are numbers, so it's all, you know, it's a random number generator. You never know when the shell is gonna hit or when the shell is gonna miss. Regardless, it's the same accuracy on this as it is the Leopard 1, so if the Leopard 1 hits X amount of times, this tank should hit X amount of times. But for some reason, the RNG on this tank just doesn't feel like it's there. And once again, we just don't have the rate of fire to deal with what's going on, and we're going to get clipped out by this guy in our side. Yes, we are. We go down, and we die. And it's 10-3. It's 10-3, and we have done nothing this game whatsoever. Going back to its strengths, yet again, this is one of those vehicles where you can actually do something like this, which is play across this open area and escape unharmed, which is pretty cool. Not many other tanks can do that. The Leopard 1 is not the Leopard 1, but yeah, the Leopard 1 can do it too, but the E50M is one that can. And so now we're up to this position a little bit faster. So if someone tries to cross, we should be able to catch them. First victim is this huntsman. We put a shell in, and if you guys don't notice, I have to poke way up on this ridge. We have 8 degrees, which in my opinion is really good. 8 and higher is good. And, but this tank is so tall, we have to expose so much of our tank. And that right there, the pen actually bounced off of our mallet and went into our upper hull, the engine deck part, the front engine deck, which doesn't have the engine. And he killed our gunner somehow. And then we bounce off the flush, flat front of that WZ. And then we miss our shell on the 277, but we ran the WZ. But that WZ, we have 270 pen, but I swear it's a lie. I do. And you're going to see that happen again right here. Ready? Lower plate. Bounce. We bounce off the lower plate of a 277, who then rams himself and kills himself on us, so that's nice. We bounce off the lower plate of a 277 cresting a ridge. It wasn't angled away from us. It just bounced off. And so I feel this tank just has bad RNG. It has bad RNG. I don't know why. And I know RNG is random. It should be random every time, but it just feels like, for me anyway, my RNG in this tank is awful. And I roll low a lot as well, I feel like, too. I don't know if you guys remember yesterday's video where we were playing the E50M and we had a game where we mercy rolled what was it, the 4005. And we had to shoot him again, leaving him on, what, 7 hit points, then we ran him, leaving on 1. And then earlier that game we had another instance, I forget against who it was, but it was where we needed like 250, and we rolled lower than that, and he survived. Oh, it was against the Death Star. It was right after, remember? The Death Star? Once again, we rolled low, and so we had to put another shell into him. And the aim time, 2.1 is good, but it's just not good enough. I feel this gun should be laser beam all the time. You can keep the DPM as low as it is if you give this a laser beam gun, but its gun is not laser beam. You saw us miss that shell on the 4005, or bounce off, because we had to let the gun aim a little bit. And I think this tank should have the best on-the-move accuracy in the game. It really should. I don't care if it's, you know, a fictional tank. It doesn't actually exist. It was just theorized. But I think it should have a better gun handling. And then we bounce off that, which should never have bounced as well. We probably hit him in the turret, but shooting down, it should have bounced off the turret and gone into his hull, but it doesn't. And then the Conqueror, who just fired, beats our reload. He's got about the same reload as us, and he's a tier lower with a bigger gun. Don't worry, guys, we're going to end this video right. I had one more game left in me, and I was hoping for that good game, and this was the good game. And yet again, would I have done better in another tank? Actually, not really. I think this tank was the perfect tank to use, other than the first engagement. Then the second engagement / third engagement, I think we might have done better in the 430U, but the E50M did a phenomenal job. And actually, any Soviet medium actually probably would have done better in the situations we're going to have. And so yet again, what would I do to this tank to make it better? Of course, Wargaming nerfed it because it had the highest survival rate on a tier 10 medium, which is a stupid way to do that. Of course it did. It had the most armor at tier 10. And it had the most hit points. So of course it's going to survive more. It doesn't mean it's going to win them all. It just means when you win, you're more likely to survive. And that's what gives a tank its better survivability, is the fact that if it wins, it survives. And that's what this tank does. It survives if it wins. That's not a good way to nerf it. I don't know why you would nerf the rate of fire on it. Because now you have the 430U, which I guarantee survives even more than this. So are you going to nerf that now? Hopefully. Because boy, is that thing OP. It needs cupolas. Like, I'm not going to ask for much. Just give it cupolas. Maybe a weak roof on the turret. And call it a day. You can keep the hull as it is. Just give it weak spots, please, on the front. Please. But, hey, whatever. So this position right here. We were fast enough to get here, but then I think so would an Action X. An Action X would be fast enough, and an Action X would be better because of its gun depression, and it's a really well-angled turret armor, and thick turret armor. Like, you use your gun depression here, and this guy can't pen us. We're just trying to shoot this through the mantlet. The mantlet is a bit of a weak spot. It's 254 flat, and there's nothing behind it, so our penetration can go through it. But instead, now we're going to switch to HE. And, so, yeah, well, yet again, what exactly would I do to make this tank better? And it is, I would just be like, okay, it's going to have 1.7 seconds aim time. It's going to have 0.29 accuracy. It's going to have the most accurate gun on a medium tank. And it's going to have, like, 0.8 dispersion while moving instead of the, or 0.08 instead of the 0.14. which I think is dumb. It would literally be like 0.08 and just like, ha. And this thing would just be laser beam on the move. And then the 1.7 seconds aim time wouldn't even mean much. In fact, you could still have a 2.1 seconds aim time. So we got shot at probably by the SU-122-54 over there, I figured, because he's platooned with this Conqueror. And so I've decided, alright, let's move on. We put 2 HE shells into that guy. And so that's what we're going to do. And we're going to do something yet again this tank is good at. And that is pushing a position, just pushing it. But the issue yet again is survivability. It does have good armor, but it doesn't have good DPM, and that's the big issue. This, honestly, I would make that hit. If I would be like, okay, that hits because E50M, that should hit, and boom, done. But this guy, ready? I'm not gonna shoot him. He fired. I'm just gonna ram him because it's funny. Boom, you're dead. There we go. And then we're gonna change our attention to this chieftain. And we're going to experience the accuracy here. The accuracy actually works decently. Wait for the shot. There it is. Boom, we put it in. He misses us. Now we're going to aim a shot at his cupola. Yet again, I would be like, okay, this should hit. If you fully aim with the E50M, you should hit. Unfortunately, the shell goes, I think, high right. It was hard to tell because how fast the shell travels. And so that misses. But that's to be expected. That's a harder shot. And then the second shot is where the gun handling, the accuracy actually works. It flies straight. And we kill him. Which was like, whoa. The gun shot straight. I'm super excited. There we go. But hey. And as soon as we fire, he gets tracked. So we do not actually hit him. 277 is coming around. And this is the moment I was talking about. What other tank? And I think that's the same 277 as last time because he's firing heat and he hit me in the exact same spot. Unlucky. What other tank could survive this situation? The 430U maybe, the T62A, 140, the regular 430 probably. I don't think any of the other mediums would. Maybe the Patton. I think the Action X would die. But there we bounce off his upper hull. But this tank, I think we only survive this engagement because of the tank we're in. He bounces off our tracks. We fix those. We get around. Boom, we finish that guy off. And now we just get around this guy because he fired. And we have a friend with us, so we need him to not look at us. We need him to switch his attention, not, you know, look straight or backwards. He has to make a decision, so that's what we've decided to do. Now he has to make a decision, and he decided to look at that guy. And so now he gets to die, not to us, but instead to our 57 Heavy, who finishes him off. And so yeah, yet again, what tank would survive that situation? I think the E50M and the 430U were the best for that. So right there is a prime example of why this tank is decent in some situations, but only some. And yet again, shell misses, doesn't even hit him. It goes underneath his tank. The gun should be laser beam. This tank should have something going for it, but at the moment it doesn't. The Leopard 1 has better gun handling. Well, aim time, same accuracy, better rate of fire. It's also faster. The 430U has better armor. It doesn't have better mobility, but it has better armor, a better turret. Patton has better on the move accuracy. Action X has the same on the move accuracy. So it's like you know, is this tank any good? Maybe. Already just fired. I'm keeping that in mind. We spot this guy and artillery. I know I see the artillery, but he did just fire. So that's why I didn't shoot him. I wanted to put one shell on that guy to make him pull back at least, so he's no longer looking at me. Because now we can do this. You ready? That shell was not aimed at the ridge. We aimed over the ridge. In fact, I'll show it again. Shell is aimed up. And it goes into the ridge. Yes, it was really close to the ridge. But still, I mean, 0.3 accuracy should have gone straight, in my opinion. It was fully aimed. It should have gone over the ridge, but it didn't, yet again. And, well, those shells go in. And this right here is an example of this thing's rate of fire. He almost gets back over the ridge before we can fire again. He was so very close. But we see that T-57 Heavy, so we're going to side scrape him. And wouldn't you know, he's shooting heat. Boom, heat. Ta-da! Everybody's shooting premium rounds in this game. It's like, okay, whatever. But he fires another shell, misses. Now he's not paying attention to us, so now we should be free to put some shells into him. Waiting for that shot. What's he doing? What's he doing? There you go. Boom, we put it in. And is he worth it? No, he's dead. We have 5 kills. We might actually be able to get ourselves a top gun. And we actually have perfect side shots on this guy. Boom, we fire it in. We track him. But even if he doesn't have a repair kit, there's no way we can perma-track him with this gun. It's just not good enough. It's not good enough at all. So now we're going to roll up on him, but we're not going to get to him. So let's talk about the tank and outro before we get to the post-game results. Is this tank dead? I know a lot of people are going to disagree, but yes, it is. It's dead. There's no reason to play it. There is no reason. I know you guys, you'll still have fun. You'll still have good games in it from time to time, but in reality, it's not a very good tank. It really just isn't. There's so much other mediums can do, and even other heavy tanks can do better than this. Like the WZ-111-5A can play pretty much the same role as this, and it's a heavy tank. But regardless, we get the ace tanker. We get our second mark of excellence. Wasn't too shabby a game to end on, so I was happy to get that done. But is this tank worth it? Not really. You can still go for it and get it for tier 10, but I don't recommend it. I don't, and I'm sorry if you're grinding for it and you're like, oh no, I ground for this thing and he's saying it's not worth it. You'll still have fun in it. Trust me, you will. And it's still a good tank. It just isn't as good as everything else. But anyway, that's the video. Hope you guys all enjoyed. If you did, slap that like button, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of the E50M and what other tanks you think might be dead. And I will probably do some reviews on them at some point. And I will see you guys all later. Make sure you go check out Space Bandit and GotADingy's YouTubes and Twitch. Take care, everyone, and peace out.